What year did you move to the United States?
November 8, 1968.
Why did you decide to move to the United States? Was there a last straw, or over a period of time you thought, we need to leave soon?
Yeah, well, since the system changed and the lack of freedom, persecution in the church, and we didn't want our children to grow up in the system.
What kind of system?
Communist system.
What was your childhood like when you were in Cuba?
I was born in the countryside, up in the mountains of the central province of Santa Clara. And when I was 6 years old, my parents moved to Santiago de Cuba. And we were very poor, always. My mother worked, my father too. But my mother's always wanted us to have a better life than she did. So we had an education. And when things were getting better, that we had a job after we graduated and everything, is when the system started. So now it's your turn.
What I got to say?
How was your childhood?
Well, I was living the country. Wasn't outside the town. We was poor, and working in the farms since I was a little kid.
What did your parents do for jobs?
My father was a night watch in a place, and where the bosses in the city, they have a place to put them at night. So he was a night watch. And my mother, at first she was a babysitter, because after we moved from the country to Santiago, my sister was born and my younger brother was born already there. So she couldn't work, but then my aunt was taking care of the babies while she got a job as a babysitter for rich people. But then later on, in those days, when you go in the bus, instead of putting the money what you do now, no, there was a person there collecting the money. So that's what she was, they call it conductora. And she used to work so many hours. It was terrible. And then my father left that job and he was working in a place where they sell charcoal, because that's the way we used to cook with.
And Pop, what about your parents?
Well, my father was in charge of the warehouse, and my mother was working the house. How do you call it?
She took care of her own home.
Homemaker.
Homemaker.
Okay, homemaker.
So then what did you do for jobs when you were older?
Well, I went to study English for 4 years. Then I went to secretarial school and I graduated. And I got a job as a secretary in an office. And they used to sell windows and glass doors imported from this country. But when the system changed, the government took over the company. And they offered me the management, but I refused. I didn't want to be in charge of anything that they took over, because we already knew what the system was all about. They took over every business. They took over people's houses, people's farms. Anything you owe, it wasn't yours anymore. So I got a job with the geologist, and they were Russians and Czechoslovakian people, and I worked with them for 2 or 3 years. And when I applied to come to this country, they threw me out of work. So that's what you did.
Yeah, when I applied to come, They threw me
What
out.
kind of work were you doing?
Working in a store,
What kind of store?
clothes.
Oh, okay. What did you do at the store?
Salesman,
Okay.
and also I was cutting clothes.
Oh. Once you left, what was the most difficult thing to get used to in America?
Everything was totally different from our way of life. Being away from our parents, the family, our country. Because the system started at the end of 1959. And in the meantime, George was born when we were already waiting to come here.
How long did it take to get jobs in America when you first moved?
Well, I didn't apply for a job because George was 7 months old the same day we arrived here. She was 4 and Gaspar was 3, so I couldn't get a job.
Okay.
So a little while after, I was babysitting with other kids on mine.
Was that at your
For a
own
while.
house?
Yeah. They only paid me $25 a week. And then Pop got a job right away in Hoboken, was
In Hogan,
doing one,
cutting clothes.
cutting clothes.
Okay.
And then he got a better company, and then he worked for Ralph Lauren for many, many years until he retired. In those days, there were a lot of restrictions. And some people got on a boat and tried to make it illegally, but we didn't want to do that. First, I wouldn't risk their lives. And there was other choices that he could go to another country, like Spain or any other country, by himself, and then claim me and the kids. But I didn't want to do that. I said, either we go together or I'm not going anywhere. This is a country of immigrants, if you read the history of the country. So we all come in different times for different reasons. We came because of the political reasons and religion and everything. Other people come just because they want to leave and see what's in here and have a different life. Not everybody comes for the same reason.
What did you have to do to leave Cuba?
First we had to apply.
So what did you have to
The
do to apply?
paperwork, that we wanted to leave the country. Like I said, they threw us out of work. And it was hard. We lived in his parents' house. And they were practically supporting us. Sometimes he had odd jobs to do. I used to do sewing for other people so I could make some money. And the ladies that I did the sewing for, they gave me remnants of their material, and I made clothes for my kids. And
Also, I just wanted to ask how you two met.
he was my brother's best friend, one of my brothers. The tall one with the white hair. But one year, that was 1961, I think, my brother invited him for Christmas Eve. So he asked me that week if I wanted to go out for Christmas Eve, for New Year's Eve. Did you?
Mm-hmm.
Are you sorry you did?
No.
Well, I went out with him. A few days later, he asked me to marry him.
A few days later?
In January. February the 14th, he gave me the engagement ring.
Wow.
But we couldn't get married right away because we had no money. So we waited a while, and that's the wedding picture right there. And 55 years later, here we are. 3 kids and 8 grandkids. beautiful, all of them.